Here we go. It's exciting. Here we are. So again, welcome to this special edition of Soul Cafe, inspired by the Festival of Diwali. And this is the fifth day of the celebrations. So great timing. But as always, let's begin with a meditation. And it's very nice, by the way, if you want to go and grab yourself a candle, because who knows, there might be a moment where we actually light this. So be prepared, be ever ready. Feel free to go grab a candle. I'm happy to give you a minute or two to peacefully, don't feel you have to hurdle over furniture to get yourself a candle. Please be careful, but you're welcome to grab something. So again, this is our Soul Cafe that's inspired by the Festival of Diwali, which appears on the Hindu calendar, although there are other cultures that celebrate it. And we'll get to that in a moment, but first, a reflection. So, seated comfortably, and ideally, the feeling of being seated in a very royal way. So about to embark on something quite important, quite valuable. And once the body is comfortably seated, the mind is free to be able to focus inwards, to move into what we call the inner world, that space of thoughts and feelings and memories and attitudes. It's a very powerful, magical, sometimes mystical space, no dimensions. It's not physical at all. But it really is where experiences happen. And for many of us, that inner world has become cluttered, heavy, unpredictable, and sometimes even a little dark. The feeling there is hidden corners, secrets, things I don't quite understand about myself. Wanting to just shed some light, have full understanding. So I imagine I'm moving into my inner world, holding a candle. That my interest, my openness, my determination to understand myself is guiding the way. And I want to move into the very depths of my inner world. Not the surface, not the ordinary, daily, worldly thoughts, but that profound, deeper part of my inner world. Getting to the very essence of myself. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is my potential? What am I like when I am real and authentic? These very simple points that are like tiny sparks of understanding. This is what pulls me into the depths of my inner world, shedding light on simply understanding the self. Om Shanti. So a warm welcome again. Thank you for joining this edition of Soul Cafe. And yes, Diwali, which means row of lights, Deepaks. So sometimes Deepmala is another name for it. I think probably all of you in some ways are familiar, some more than others, but really when it comes to the significance, we're all in equal territory. We're all trying to understand the significance. Some may have performed all the rituals and festivities and others not. It is considered, Diwali is considered really such a main festival in Hindu culture, just as Christmas might be in other parts of the world. And it's got some very specific focus over the 5 days. But I find with any festival, it is a wonder, these different activities and observances that are so specific, and we just sort of do them as if we don't, something bad might happen to us, so we do them. But do we really understand why we're doing them? What's behind them? Where did they come from? I certainly remember a lot of that being raised in the Jewish faith. So Hanukkah is the festival of lights for that faith. There was so much happening, and I didn't really understand. There were things we did things on certain days and light candles and all sorts of things and games and festivities and food, very specific. And, you know, it really feels like, oh, we're doing this really well. We're doing the festival well, but really no clue as to what it all means. So that a day or two after the festival is over, things go back to normal, back to as they were. So I guess the first question that we can explore together is, what is the point of these festivals? I know that they give us a lift while we're celebrating, but why did they first emerge? Yeah, we might feel they've always been there, but they must have emerged at some point. What are they doing for us? What is the point of these different festivals? Whatever religious faith one belongs to, there's always going to be some special days, sacred days. What is the point of these festivals? What did they first emerge? What was the reason that they first emerged? Any thoughts? I feel things are happening in the chat box to remind us of something about the self. Beautiful. So there might be a memory, a symbol of something about the self. Very beautiful. That would suggest that we were prone to forgetting. We needed something to remind us. Mm-hmm. Something very powerful that has that like an echo or an impact, an imprint. So something that really, impressed, something powerful and profound that impressed upon us, left an echo, such that we wanted to try and capture it or formalize it.
And we may not even know it or something.
We may not even know. Yeah, you know, I sort of put this with the, why do we put the birthday candles on the cake? And there's so many things we do that it's just what we do, right? So we forgot our true selves. I just have to open this up. We forgot our true selves and came into bondage of the vices. It's time to reconnect to our true innate nature. So this is a very advanced group. I can see my purpose here is rather irrelevant. So yes, we're constantly hearing this theme about reconnecting. And I think that's more significant than ever. I appreciate Diwali because it really is the first to launch this parade, this procession of the different festivals of lights in different cultures. It's quite interesting that, every culture seems to have some festival focused on lights. So we talked about Hanukkah and there's Christmas and many different festivals, and Diwali is even celebrated in other cultures. So this idea of reminding us about ourselves and the light, to the point that it's called Diwali, the light seems to be very central when it comes to this particular festival. There are some other aspects as well around Diwali. So I know that we have some people listening now that are very familiar, would have celebrated during their life. So in addition to the Diaz, the lighting of the Diaz, what other aspects are there around that are very specific, if you will, to Diwali? What else do we do on this 5-day celebration? The darkest day right in the middle. You know too, Lakshmi Puja. All right, here we go. Cleaning is big. I actually cleaned my room leading up to Diwali. Cleaning the household, invoking or puja, worship of Lakshmi, invocation, giving of gifts. Yes, see, there's lots of crossover.
Something about metals, precious metals?
Yes, so on day one, on the first day, Dhanteras, there is the buying of precious metals. So for the household, utensils or gold. You buy new clothes, so it's also the new year. So there's cleanliness, there's newness, there's this sense of richness, so precious metals. There's the generosity, the abundance, the giving of gifts, the exchange of gifts. Very nice. There's, of course, the Diaz, the lights and fireworks. Anything else? I'm giving you hints now. Firecrackers, yeah, and food. Sweets is very big. I think sweets, yes. Okay, my charades are successful. Sweets, very nice. And today is Bhai Dooj, which has its own sort of significance. Making Rangoli, that's a huge one. Thank you, Tanish. We don't want to forget that. That's huge, incredible, actually. So these colorful patterns of different beautiful ground elements that are very bright patterns. So everyone, I think, has seen Rangoli. And anything else? I think you're covering all of them. These are pretty interesting aspects that will often show up in other festivities as well. So what is the lighting of real candles? Yes, so those are those diyas or deepaks for 5 days. Yes, there's always lighting of candles, which you will do today. Let's leave the candles till the end because that's the most interesting. What is with the cleanliness and the newness, the cleaning of the household and buying new clothes? What do we think that might be about with respect to, if these are different celebrations about understanding the self or things we want to remember or reconnect with about the self? What would be the cleanliness and the newness? What's that about? What does that say about ourselves and what we're seeking with respect to ourselves? Trying to reset. And again, you can chat or unmute, whichever you're comfortable with. It's about, I'll say, our spiritual life now. So it's a memorial of the spiritual life, self-respect, beautiful.
Letting go of the old.
Letting go of the old. And often, what does letting go of the old look like when we're maybe not in the spiritual path? What would letting go of the old look like?
Throw things away.
Throw things away. Move. Change jobs. So divorce your parents. So we tend to, it's external things, right? We're so used to looking to the external. So these symbols of the new clothes and buying new things, precious things to bring into the house, that self-respect.
Get new physical habits.
New physical habits, exactly. And that's so much about the new year. We have here this idea of new accounts. And this always is very interesting, because this shows up quite strongly in the Jewish faith as well, more around their new year. So this is something New Year as well in this festival, but their New Year is more in the early fall, Rosh Hashanah. But they have this beautiful idea of, they call it atoning, but this idea of 7 days to really reflect on my own life, what I'm doing, what types of actions or behavior, what I've created, to really reflect, sort of assess my accounts, if you will, my inner accounts, and see what do I want to change, to really let that go and start a fresh account book, is how they describe it. A fresh account book. The idea being that I'm going to engage in new behavior, start new accounts. Of course, when we come into spirituality, we realize what's required to really do something new. And so we can understand why we often resort to the external when we're trying to create newness, because what does it take to have newness inside? It's required to really have newness inside. And what does newness even mean? When we say, I want newness inside, what would that mean?
Shift in my awareness.
A shift in my awareness might be required.
Myself.
Self-transformation, self-realization.
More specifically, a shift in my sense of identity.
Shift in my sense of identity, not operating from old ways that often show up in our thinking, our thought processes. Yeah. What those thoughts are connected to, again, the awareness, the sense of self. It's quite interesting because I remember some might remember, we had a senior student of the Brahma Kumaris visiting, and he shares spiritual knowledge in a way that's meant to provoke thought. I never get the feeling that he's trying to really lecture, but simply throwing ideas out there to sort of stir the pot, if you will, to provoke thought. And one thing he was saying is, we don't change. We don't change. So what was that about? What was that trying to make us realize? And this is a very central part and a very compassionate and hopeful part of spiritual understanding. So much of our concepts of self-change, in a little subtle way, include self-rejection. And the beautiful thing about spirituality is that I'm actually returning. I had moved away. I am returning to myself. Wherever I go, there I am. So yes, I want this to be a very harmonious and peaceful restoration, reconnection with myself. That change has been so connected with, this is wrong, reject it, move away from it, throw it out. That's what we do with physical things. When we say we want to change, I'm going to leave that job, I'm going to throw out that phone, or I'm going to sell that car, I'm going to destroy that. Now, if we're talking about change this way, and now we're talking about changing the self, those are pretty violent dynamics, understandings of change to take and apply to the self. I'm going to throw that out, or destroy that, or fire that, or move away from that. And this idea of, I'm going to embrace what is authentic or true in the self. It's there. It's there. I simply am going to emerge it. So to be really aware of what that newness, what newness or change is about. Again, it's become so violent when it's been applied to the external and rejecting a lot. And so this idea of, again, light, that I want to understand, that's going to be the focal point of my transformation or change, is I want to understand. It's incredible the power that understanding has. Nothing's rejected, nothing's thrown away, nothing's destroyed or cut up in a violent way. But there's just this magical of almost seeing something that's always been there, but I was blind to, I was in the dark to. It's always been there. So a very interesting concept of change or newness, emerging that which is already there, right? But simply went into the dark. I became blind to. What about all of these? Let's see the other aspects that everyone wrote. What about this invoking Lakshmi? Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. What's that about? That's so central. I know it's, again, these new accounts for the new year. But what's this invoking Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth? And of course, Laksh also means aim.
Fortune and wealth.
Fortune and wealth.
Are we talking about spiritually? Or?
Invoking anything that comes to mind. Yeah. Invoking my perfect form. That word perfect makes some people very nervous, by the way. It's gotten a very bad reputation. But yes, invoking, she is definitely symbolizes perfection, if you will, true happiness, constant happiness, operating from my highest potential. So spiritually speaking, what is wealth? Invoking wealth, the wealth of knowledge. So back to that light of understanding. Wealth of knowledge, we've got two out there. The wealth of knowledge, treasure. Wow, wonderful ideas coming in. So again, this incredible fortune of understanding. It's remarkable. And wisdom. Wisdom, when knowledge converts to wisdom. What does it mean for knowledge to convert to wisdom? When does knowledge become wisdom?
Character changes.
When your character changes.
Responses change.
Your responses change. When we become an embodiment of it, when we operate on the basis of that knowledge, when we use it, it becomes wisdom. How much embodiment? So everyone's brain is connected today, practicing knowledge in real life, turning it into a power, using it. So yes, exactly. This is true wealth. And we do live at a time when we just love to accumulate information, right? And we just, it's all, I mean, how many times you see someone trying to do something and you think, oh, I can help them. Let me tell them, let me share my wealth of knowledge on this aspect of how to use your phone. You know, we just, and of course, we feel great. We feel like we've helped, right? Because I have so much information, right? But do I have peace? Do I have happiness? Am I benevolent? These are really useful capacities to have. Knowing how to use a phone, I'm not sure if that really is on equal ground as knowing how to be benevolent. So yes, this wealth of wisdom, which is revealed through my character and behavior. Lakshmi, she is shown so incredibly adorned, and then with lotus flowers, standing on a lotus flower. There's gold, and I mean, it's such an abundant, and then the elephants, and there's such an abundant image, but we're really looking at a symbol or representation of such inner richness. Inner richness. You know, I'm often reminded, and I've shared this story before, of a soul who has since passed away. Some may have met her, Dr. Lakshmi. She really coordinated, she developed and coordinated a mobile nutrition program in Mount Abu, and that was for school children. I don't know, I think Norben has met Veena Lakshmi, yes? Did you meet Dr. Lakshmi?
Yeah.
Yeah. She had so many remarkable programs to empower those who resided in Mount Abu. She was, of course, a Brahma Kumari and a senior sister. And whenever those from outside of India would come to the headquarters to visit, she would invite them to come with her on the nutrition program. And you were often roped into doing a performance of some sort. So entertaining the children, which was amazing. And there's two incidents around that I remember. One was with myself involved. It was myself and another BK, and we were to do a dance performance for the children. And the other BK had just a few years previous been very involved in their professional life. They were an actor. And so they knew a way of life which was extremely wealthy, physically wealthy. And they performed in beautiful performance houses, theaters. I mean, so we're sitting there doing this dance performance for these children. And most of them are actually, I wouldn't even say rural, I would say tribal, right? So very, very simple means. So we're on the side of a dirt road doing a dance performance. I mean, the contrast to where the soul is used to performing was night and day. And we're sitting here, and every once in a while a cow would walk behind us, and maybe stop and do some things behind us. And we're sitting here performing, and we hear this, and it's this old tractor coming up the road. It's going to definitely run us over. And so we're performing, we start to move out of the way, and the old tractor goes behind us. And this is, I was just thinking in my mind how different this was from where the soul is used to performing. And at the end of it, they turn to me and say, that was one of the best performance experiences of my life. It really touched the heart so deeply. And the second incident, which we've shared, was there is a program they would do, the Mount Abu Experience, Peace of Mind. And it was for people who are in positions of influence in their profession. And they would be invited. And then Dr. Lakshmi would take them again on the nutrition program so that you actually get to help to serve the children and interact, etc. And so these are very, very wealthy people and very high levels of position. And but because we're so affected by what we physically see, and these children really do physically look pretty interesting, missing an eye or whatever, severe malnutrition. So Lakshmi has to make sure, she's always watching them to make sure they're okay, that they're not shocked or disturbed. And she looks over and she sees one of the delegates is actually crying. And so she approaches her and says, "Are you okay? Is this upsetting for you to see?" And the delegate says, No, this doesn't bother me at all to see. That's not why I'm crying. And she says, "This is anything you want to talk about?" She says, "Well, it's interesting. I have a son at home who is the same age as these school children. And he has every toy you could ever wish for. He has everything. But I would give everything in the world to see him smile the way these children are. So what is true fortune or wealth? And have we gotten it a little bit upside down? That's what spirituality, that's what these festivals invite us to explore. I was very fortunate, I feel, in this birth. My physical father, we were raised in the Jewish household, so Passover and Hanukkah and everything. And he had this thing, which I now appreciate so much. It seemed odd within the Jewish community. It was like, we seem to be the odd ones out here. But whenever the festivals happened, I remember, for example, Passover, it's got such specific things that are supposed to happen that you actually have a manual that you go through the festival with. It's called a Haggadah. It tells you what to do when, what prayer to say when. It's very specific. And we each would have a Haggadah because we all have a part. So we have a script that's also, like I would be the youngest one, so there's a certain song I'm supposed to sing. So anyway, so I would often set the Passover table, and it's very specific. And the Haggadahs had our names on them because we each had a different part. And so his Haggadah, I would look in it and he had all these notations and markings, and he would skip, like you're supposed to go through. I've gone to other people's Passover and it was very different from ours, but he had this thing where he thought, I want you to think about what's going on here. We're not just gonna go through this like a ritual. So he would jump around and he'd ask thought-provoking questions, and how is this relevant today? And I mean, this is how all I knew for the longest time. This must be what everyone, I would come out of there with so many thoughts swimming in my head about what this all means. And then I'd go to others and I thought, oh, this is very different. I still ended up having to sing the song, which was unfortunate for everyone. But it's so beautiful when we use these opportunities to provoke thought, to stop and assess what is going on. How is this relevant to my life? How might this uplift my life? What changes, adjustments do I need to make? So the wealth, it's a huge one to think about. What is true wealth? What is true fortune? What does Goddess Lakshmi really represent? Of course, we have the big one, the lights that don't look like this. Ours are packed away. Those little clay Diaz, yeah. They're back in the back room somewhere. So these beautiful clay Diaz that you saw, actually, I will show you. It's right here. Let's see if this will hit. There we go. So there's an example of a dia there that you can see. That's classic. So this wonderful, it's beautiful to look at and what that represents. And just to imagine, hundreds of these. There's so many decorating the space. It's very beautiful. So this is the big one. What does the light of this festival and all the Festival of Lights, what does that light represent? And I know you're all brilliant, and this is where I don't need to say anything. So I know you'll get very excited sharing your ideas. What does that dia represent? What's it trying to remind us of?
Yeah, the soul.
Light of me, the soul. Yeah.
Truth.
The light of truth.
The light of God.
Victorious life. And that's actually connected in some places. Diwali is a celebration of the victory of Ram and his return to his kingdom and his liberation of Sita. So yes, victory.
The light of God.
The light. Well, we'll come to that. That's very interesting. It is the light. So I have this dia. And really the function of this, I mean, yes, when it's in the casing, it might be a nice, paper holder or something. But really the main function of this is to be lit. This is the potential of this, is to emit light. The opening of the third eye, igniting the light within. Thank you. So This is wonderful. And this is something I always used to think about with any of the festivals, Hanukkah, etc. Light at the end of the tunnel. These are so good. The light at the end of the tunnel, renewal of hope. And that's the whole idea of a new year, a new cycle beginning and during these darker days. But I need some light source. Auspicious life. I'll just keep reading this. I need some light source to light this. Right now, it's not lit. So did you have your light available? Do you have? Okay. So I have another candle here. Borrow this. Thank you. Here's another beautiful one. Yeah. We've got two now. They both are not lit. Is this going to work? Can they light each other? Is that going to work?
Yeah.
Let's see. Maybe if I take this one out. Let's try this.
The proper taper candle.
It's not working. Why? Why isn't it working?
Neither of them are lit.
Neither of them are lit. We have a problem. Do we go to other people hoping that they will ignite us? Give us something? Specifically, this one thing that we're looking for? A sense of self? Do you think other people can give that to us? Can someone else give me respect? Light is within us. We have that potential. But what if we're just like the candle, but we're not lit? I have the potential to be light, but I'm not lit. And I'm going to other people that are also not lit.
Some people
Hoping-
think that other people are lit.
Some people think they definitely give the impression that they're lit, right? This is where God comes into the equation. There's only one soul that's always lit. This was another very beautiful aspect of Hanukkah. It's the worst possible thing that could happen. If you really, really want to destroy a temple, put all the lights out. So this is this festival of Hanukkah, is this idea of how the invaders really tried to destroy the temple. And the main thing was we have to keep the lights on. But there was only enough oil for a very small period of time. And the source of oil was something like 7-8 days away. But there wasn't enough oil to last until that oil could be taken, it could be received from that other source that was 7 or 8 days away. So they had a problem. They only have enough oil for 1 or 2 days. Replenishments can't arrive until 7-8 days later. And the light cannot go out in the temple. So it's called the miracle of Hanukkah, or the light that was only for 1 or 2 days lasted for 7 days. And so when lighting the Hanukkah candle, this always impressed on me so much as a child. Again, it's in a certain order, but there's one candle that has to light the other ones, and it's given a unique position that's higher in the menorah, and it has to light the other candles. So this idea that there is one soul, the only one that can light other souls, it's always lit. Right? And this is a beautiful, really, definition of God, the one whose light never goes out. Our light gets dimmer and dimmer and seems to be completely out. And we're doing everything in our power externally to get that glow back, right? We try and find different ways to really nourish that sense of self, external validation, but it just doesn't work. If anything, we seem to get more dim. Right? Things become more heavy, more stressful, more anxiety. We're not becoming lighter, we're becoming heavier. So how to get this ignited, right? How do I get that light from the Supreme Soul? This is really the essence of Diwali. I have to take this form, not this form, but I have to change, if you will, or have a, again, change means to recognize what's always there. Right? It's a very distant concept of change. I'm not creating something out of nothing. It's always there. So as an example, this is the one we always use. Some of you are familiar with this. 2 fingers, very gently, right here, until you find a pulse. Success? Good. Okay. Now notice, just take a moment while you're doing that to notice your demeanor. Not thinking about anything else, completely focused on just finding that pulse. It's almost meditative. Now, I found a pulse. Did that pulse just start happening when I tried to feel it? Or had it always been there, even when I'm not thinking about it? I'm not aware of it. It's always there, but I became aware of it, and I had to become quite introverted and focused to do that, and quiet. So when we say I'm going to change my form, doesn't mean that I'm going to do some sort of superhero magical act in front of you. I always have the same form. I'm just going to become aware of it. I'm always a soul. I'm not aware of, I'm not touching that experience of myself. I'm occupied in other things, other aspects of my day-to-day life, really illusions around my identity. So I want to become aware. I'm going to have to become introverted, no other thoughts, 200% of my attention to experience that. Once I'm in that form, the capacity to be light, then developing this connection to the one who is ever lit, so that I immediately feel light. Regardless of what's going on around me, I feel light. So this, I think, is the most beautiful aspect of Diwali. Tanish, when you light other candles, the light of the first candle does not increase. Very true, right? So this is an interesting principle of spirituality, which is so beautiful. It's around wealth, around light, around sweets, around gifts, around everything. Perhaps it's the formula for true prosperity. In the physical realm, so Nora gave me her candle because I asked. It was very nice of her. How many candles do you have now? None. So she had one. She gave it to me. Now she has 0 sadness. So let's give her this back. I had 2 and now I have 1. This is how physical works, that when you give it away, you have less. In spirituality, it's the opposite. When you share it, it increases. So if I give peace, my peace increases. If I give light, my light increases. So if I really get this, I become a very smart business person, spiritually speaking. I'd be giving all the time. This is how Lakshmi becomes so wealthy. It's just give and give. So the giving of spiritual gifts is huge in changing my accounts. I remember once, one of our greatest gifts, our 2 greatest gifts are thoughts and time. And I remember with time, all of us can get into that situation where we feel very stretched for time. And the way that's happened, and we blame the outside world because we always blame the outside world for everything. But it's actually my account with time and how I manage time. That's the issue. So if I become generous with my time and efficient, very respectful of time, my own time and other people's time, my accounts with time start to change. Right? So I really have to understand these spiritual principles because they're sort of running the show. So the Supreme Soul, part of how that soul stays ever lit is they're constantly sharing light, constantly just 24/7, eternally sharing light. So that soul stays ever lit. If I am ignited and I start to share that light, then I become lighter and lighter as well. So I'm aware of the time. Somehow it flew by. So I think it's important that we do something. If you did get a light, a dia, anything for yourself, you can have that ready. We're going to have a bit of a meditation experience. And I know how technical it is to light things here. So I'm sorry if I appear distracted at some point while I'm trying to do this without going up in flames. So again, sitting in that very comfortable but royal way. I go inside, deep inside, which means moving past worldly thoughts, ordinary thoughts, the usual thoughts I have around actions, timelines, roles, responsibilities, different issues. I walk past them all. And I bring my attention to a place inside that is like a temple, a very sacred space where I am pulled to leave anything ordinary outside. I enter that space with my attention, an open mind, an open heart, an interest to care for the self, to uplift the self. And the first thing I experience is the incredible peace of this inner temple. So peaceful, so simple, so calm. None of the complexity of the outer world is in here. There is a return to the simple aspects of life, the things that matter most, the foundation of quality of life. This is a space where I can really focus on the self. The true religion of reconnecting with the self, coming to the very essence, the very point of the self. All other thoughts fading away. Just a single point, remembering I am a soul. This experience has nothing to do with the body. So awareness of the body fades away. Completely absorbed in this single point, single experience. I am a soul. And as a soul, I have a very unique personal connection to the Supreme Soul, that being that is ever lit, always beyond all that is physical, just a soul. That golden thread that connects me to God is not a physical one. It is very personal, very real. It is a quality. A quality that makes me feel very close to God. It might be love, it might be peace, it might be truth, it might be light. There's so many possibilities. But I become very quiet, reflecting on that quality that is so dear to my own heart, that keeps me so true and close to the truth. Like the wick in a candle, that quality is so vibrant when I am touched by the light of God. Instant connection. This symbol of the candle I have, I light now to represent that quality. It's not just a word, but actually feeling that quality that connects me most deeply, most personally to the Supreme Soul. So holding that feeling, that quality in my mind, I light the symbol of this candle. When I am most lit, that quality shines very naturally from me out into the world. Everyone can feel the vibration of that quality. It makes me feel very close to God. It also makes me feel close to humanity, that connection. I take just a moment to reflect on this light as a symbol reminding me of this beautiful quality within the self. I am this light, and I have this speciality that God understands and illuminates. As I look on this symbol of the light that is me, a living light, radiating a quality that is a special gift from God through me to the world. May it remain always lit. We have a special Diwali blessing for you. My stage of self-respect emanates true power of light and might for every soul to experience their original state of self-worth. My own stage of self-respect emanates true power of light and light for every soul to experience their original state of self-worth. Thank you so much for joining us today. Very much appreciate your presence. You all contributed so many beautiful ideas. It was lovely to hear your thoughts, and I think they were beautiful contributions. Wishing you a happy, true Diwali, and may it be one where you spend some time really recognizing the uniqueness and lightness of the self, how that can create a connection for you to God, but also a sense of purpose in the world. Om Shanti.